Yo, what up, Hyperchange? Welcome to another episode. Today I'm live. Tesla's at 525 per share, all-time highs. Want to do a live stream. Apparently, what the Wall Street consensus is. And actually, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. I'm testing out a new mic for live streams, so I hope the audio is better than in past live streams. Thumbs up. Yep, awesome. Anyway, so I first wanted to go through this Oppenheimer note. Wall Street thinks thinks that is the main driving force, which is what is driving up Tesla stock today. Oppenheimer upped their price target for Tesla. They have a buy rating on the stock, put out this $612 price target. Someone sent me the note right now. So I wanted to go through kind of, not that I really care what Wall Street analysts think too much, but I do think it's interesting to sort of walk through the mentality and what's changing, how the market is perceiving Tesla as a totally different company, why that's leading to this rapid rise in share price that's frankly outdone all of my expectations. I feel like everyone who's a Tesla shareholder should just like give themselves a pat on the back because this has been epic. I'm not selling any of my stock. I'm just wishing I had bought even more than I did all year. I'm sure you guys are in the same boat. But anyway, so Wall Street is finally catching up to this long thesis and realizing that Tesla is much more than a car company. They've really crossed the chasm and are now cash flow positive on a sustainable basis, or much more than they were. And that fundamentally changes the value of the firm. So Oppenheimer, one of the more respected people on the street, the analyst here basically upped their price target to 612, basically saying that because of the improved cash flow situation, then they break down a couple big bullet points. The first one is the technology position and stock performance translating into increased fund flow. So basically, Tesla is now becoming more and more viewed as this technology company, an industry leader in electric vehicles, huge growth avenue for years to come. And because they're now profitable, the potential inclusion in the S&P 500 there is the first point, increased fund flow. So this is a really weird kind of not actually related to Tesla, the company, which is why I don't really care about it that much. But the way the stock market works is going to have a huge tailwind for the stock price of Tesla. To quickly explain what that is, the S&P 500 is a broader index basically used to track the stock market and is the list of the 500 biggest companies here in the US. And it's also something that people invest in. I actually made a whole video about this. It compounds at an average return of 7% per year. It's one of the best assets in the world, in my opinion. Warren Buffett has said that's what he would put his money into if he weren't managing it. So the S&P 500 is something that a ton of people for their retirement savings just put their money into, and it's all automated. The way that it chooses which stocks it buys, once you're in that 500, every time someone buys a share in that index, they're going to be purchasing your stock. So for Tesla to get included in the S&P 500 would mean all of these people's retirement funds, savings accounts, or basically all of these retirement funds that holds the index are going to have to start buying Tesla. And this is potentially, hundreds of millions of dollars of inflows, fund inflows. And the requirements for the S&P 500, Tesla previously hadn't been eligible for. They have to be a U.S. company. The market cap must be over 5.3 billion. Public float must consist of 50% of stock. It must have reported earnings in the most recent quarter, as well as over the positive earnings in the most recent quarter, as well as over the past 4 most recent quarters. And it must have an active market and must trade for a reasonable price. So according to my estimates, Tesla's GAAP earnings may not go positive after Q4, but in Q1 of 2020, the trailing 4 earnings are going to be positive, and then that would be the last thing that Tesla needs to be included in the S&P 500. So this sort of institutionalization of Tesla stock is going to be a huge, huge tailwind for the company. It's just math. It's just like literally hundreds of millions of dollars, potentially billions of dollars that was sitting on the sideline is now forced to buy Tesla stock, supply and demand. More people being forced to buy the stock is going to be a huge tailwind to the upside. So that is really, really exciting. The other big thing is China ramp shows potential of organizational learning. I feel like Wall Street was just putting this entire China project on the sidelines for now. And now they're starting to realize not only is this going to be a huge deal just because of the incremental Model 3 and Model Y sales in the region, but Tesla's really seeming to partner with the Chinese government on really establishing a future of electric vehicles in that region. Elon Musk's commentary about designing an electric vehicle from scratch in China is a huge clue, and their desire to set up an R&D and design center that Tesla's really investing in China for the long term. And I think China, as they transition to a sustainable transportation system, is going to be a huge opportunity, tens of billions of dollars for Tesla, and it's much bigger than the Model 3 and Model Y. I also think this is going to be one of the earliest regions for autonomy to hit for Tesla, but that's a whole nother story. But that's here is the second biggest point from Oppenheimer. Those of you who are all just joining, I'm just going through the bullish Oppenheimer note that was put out today to just give you guys a rough idea of why the market is so pumped on Tesla. The other thing is capacity expansion suggests operating margin tailwinds. So Tesla is already profitable as of last quarter, is looking to be profitable in Q4, and now is going to be even more incrementally profitable going forward. This is the beauty of Tesla's business model. For years, they were setting up all of these stores, all of this infrastructure, all of these service centers, way ahead of the necessary, of their vehicle deliveries. Now that their vehicle deliveries have caught up and they're building out more and more cars, they don't need to build a million more service centers and stores for Model Ys. They just put the Model Ys in the stores they already have. This makes the unit economics of those retail stores far better. And this is just the trend that's just going to keep happening for Tesla. Every single new product launch drops directly to the bottom line. And now everyone's saying like, wait, demand isn't falling off a cliff. Tesla's actually on the cusp of increasing production. That means margins are going to go up along with revenue. And I think the realization of that was the third point here. Someone had a super chat, so I just want to get to that really quickly. Jonathan, thank you so much. Gally, I believe that most of the critics have never test drove a Tesla. That's why they keep doing the number of cars sold comparisons. That's why they're wrong. They haven't realized how great the product is. Yes, I think that's a great point. I think if the biggest problem that the market has about not understanding this company is because they haven't gotten their hands on the product yet, and the second you try it, you become a believer. That's a great problem to have, I guess I would say. But I think that's slowly changing. I mean, word of mouth is extremely powerful. There's almost twice as many Teslas on the road as there was just 18 months ago, and that trend is going to continue. We're soon going to pass 1 million Teslas on the road. That's 1 million people who are just talking about Tesla, showing their friends. And as that number continues to go up and up, I think the word of mouth is going to be a huge, huge driver for Tesla. And I already think we've genuinely reached a tipping point in there. I mean, Tesla does zero advertising, and I think that entire Cybertruck event and moment was a really wake-up call for the entire market, where we realized, wait, Tesla's doing zero advertising, yet they just got the whole world talking about their latest product. That's sort of a feat that no one has been able to accomplish, and all goes back to the fact that Tesla only invests in making their products better, not on advertising. Like if you're watching this video on YouTube, you may have had to watch a car ad to watch this video about Tesla, which I think is so ironic. So if you have any more questions, leave them below. The other big thing here, actually the next point on this Oppenheimer note, was the Tesla fleet advantage for basically the fact that they have all these cars on the road training their neural nets is a key competitive advantage, or the only reason that they will be able to achieve full autonomy. And so until someone else even sets up this strategy of having the cars train this neural network, Tesla really doesn't have a competitor in the self-driving race as well. So now everyone's saying like, wait, electric vehicles are the future. Oh wait, self-driving cars are the future. Let's think about who's actually leading there. And it's becoming so obvious that it's Tesla that now you start to calculate how much of a runway this growth story has. And although Tesla's a huge company today, 25-30 billion in revenue, it looks like it's actually just getting started. Got another super chat here from C. Verdine. Thank you. No question on that. And anyway, the last thing I wanted to bring up on this Oppenheimer note before getting to your questions, which I think is fascinating, is Wall Street thinks, I don't know, I may be reading this wrong, so correct me, but they look like their 2020 revenue estimates are 25.1 billion, up from 23.9 billion. For 2020, they're expecting 25.1. That would be like 3 or 5% growth from 2019 to 2020. I mean, this is the guy who has a $600 price target, thinks Tesla's going to do 25 billion in 2020 revenue, 29.4 billion in 2021 revenue. Oh, thank you for the birthday wishes. Appreciate that. Sorry, just need a sip of coffee. But the point is, I just think this is getting started. If the street is coming out with a $600 price target and they're only expecting 25 billion in revenue next year, I mean, my estimates that I put out on hypercharts for a video, I actually just toned them down to make them even more conservative. It was like 32.5 billion. And that's more than their 2021 estimate is only 29.4 billion. So my point is, if you think Tesla's on the cusp of delivering over 500,000 cars this year, which I think is a given, I think it's about 550,000 cars, we are looking at a massive re-rating upward for Wall Street estimates. And what does that mean? I mean, now this is the fun part, because for so long, Wall Street didn't get it. They didn't get it. We were getting sort of the bad end, the short end of the stick with the whole Wall Street situation, their short-term thinking. But now that's sort of flipping, and that short-term thinking, the way the Wall Street system works, is now going in Tesla's favor. They have all of these Excel models with all these fancy numbers predicting how much money Tesla's going to make. They move extremely slow. They're lagging. They're slow to react and update these. And now we're in this, potentially month or quarters long process of every single Wall Street analyst continually incrementally upgrading their entire financial model. Every single time they do that, there's a big new price target jump. There's a whole new headline. Tesla stock hits all new highs. That's the pattern that's been unfolding for the past couple of weeks. And my point is, if you look at these estimates and you look at what Tesla's about to do, that looks like it could continue significantly into the future. Because I think to sum up my whole point and rant here, if you're just joining us, I think Wall Street is hugely underestimated. Even some of the biggest bulls on Wall Street are just totally underestimating what this company is going to do in 2020 and 2021. And I think that is what's driving the stock here. Is looking at continual re-ratings upward. You guys have any more questions? Would love to know them. In the meantime, I'll just look at this to see if I got any more notes. Am I buying at this level? I actually have no more cash to buy at this level because I basically bought as much as I could during the year and sort of like borrowed from myself ahead of time. So I don't have any money to buy right now, but I'm definitely not selling. I'm planning on holding super, super long term. I think we're still scratching the surface of what this company could be. I'm actually a little bit of a plug. I have a hyper chat sort of interview with Matt Joyce coming out that I recorded like yesterday. I'm just editing it. It is unbelievable. It's all about Tesla's potential to launch an electric plane, an electric vertical takeoff and landing jet, and how that will totally transform the transportation market of flying and even what flying is and what use cases it'll tackle. I think it's the best content I've ever produced potentially. So I'm so excited about that. But that just got me thinking of like, yes, Tesla's exciting now. What they're doing right now is incredible. I think we have a long runway for growth, but I really think this is like a decade-long story that is in the chance of playing out over the long term. Hyperchange, what do you think about Beyond Meat being the Tesla of food? I guess we're switching subjects a little bit, but I think that's actually something I'm thinking about for Hyperchange for 2020 and beyond is how do we fix the food system? Transportation is one piece of the puzzle, but I think frankly the food system is something that needs more and more scrutiny and rethinking. I mean, I don't want to get too political because I feel like this can rub people a lot of the wrong way, but I think the emissions from the food system are way bloated. The way the food system works of us like harvesting things, putting them on trucks for weeks, shipping them across the country, burning fossil fuels to do it, only farming one type of crop. I just think the farming system in the US is very broken. It's ripe for disruption. I think companies like Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods are awesome, innovating in that direction. I don't know if that will be the answer to the whole system. I personally like Impossible Foods more than Beyond Meat, and I think that they just have a way better product and they're going to win. That's why I haven't been that as big of a fan of Beyond Meat. But I think the customer adoption there is mind-blowing. I mean, Beyond Meat, I want to put out a video on them because they've been able to turn a profit way faster than I was expecting and turn into a pretty solid business. So I think that's really interesting. All right, any more questions on, yep. Thank you for the super chat. Any chance of Tesla announcing 2 Gigafactories in 2020? I don't know. I think Tesla's going to chill on the Gigafactory announcements for a while. Gigafactory 3, I think that's in, ramp up like crazy. Yes, that's in phase 1 now to get to 150,000. But I think people are forgetting, like, they're not done expanding that Chinese Gigafactory. I think Gigafactory 3, Shanghai, 150,000 phase per year is just a drop in the bucket of what they want this to be. They're going to be investing in that like crazy to continue expanding it. Gigafactory Berlin starting construction here pretty soon to begin production mid-2021 or so. So I think that's going to keep Tesla busy on the Gigafactory front. Beyond then, could they do an East Coast US Gigafactory? Maybe. Could they do something in India? Maybe. I think India is a really exciting opportunity for Tesla. They haven't mentioned, they haven't talked about much, but in the next, couple years, I'm really excited about the opportunity there. All right, more super chats. When does the third row interview come out? Thanks, Jonathan. They're editing it. I believe the first part or a huge chunk of it is edited for the third row interview where we interviewed Elon about a week or two ago. They're just waiting for approval from them. So I don't have a hand in that. I can't make it go faster, but I know it's definitely still coming out, but you just got to wait for it. Trust me, I wish it was out too. Another super chat. New China. Okay, so this is what I love. Elon Musk has talked about a car designed from scratch in China, which I made a video about. At first I thought this was a car for export because he said for worldwide consumption. Now I'm thinking more and more it may be less for export, more like they'll export the design and they'll still build it in Berlin, but it'll just be designed in China. I don't know if it'll be. Sorry, I don't know if it'll be a cyber car, like some sort of design like the Cybertruck. I think that'd be really cool. I think the more and more I've thought about this, I really think it's going to be just a very small car, like smart car, Model 2, more compact version of the Model 3. But I'm also kind of hoping, Elon said he wants to make something crazy and radically different. Sort of a moonshot I have is Tesla coming out with sort of electric bicycle, scooter, three-wheeled sort of micro-mobility device in China. I just think that has so much crazy potential. But I'm going to be following that super closely. Tesla building a car from scratch in China is absolutely epic. All right, I'm trying to catch up to these chats. Thank you guys so much for sending these questions. When do you think Tesla hits 800? I have no idea. I mean, I feel like I thought Tesla stock was going to go up for 2 years in a row, and I was dead wrong. And now I'm like, this just seems too good to be true. So Yeah, I don't know. I don't like to project the stock price and what it's going to do in the near term. I think the market's super hard to project, but I do think that like in the long run, the stock market will reflect the value of the company. I personally think Tesla will be $1 trillion company, and so right now they're worth 80 or 90 billion at $800 to like 120 billion. When the market decides to give them that value, I don't know. I think the fair value of Tesla at 800 a share could be in a year or two. But anyway, that's me getting a little bit ahead of it. Do you feel sorry for Mark Spiegel? News about Fiat and Tesla deal in Europe. Okay. Do I feel sorry for Mark Spiegel? A little bit. Not too sorry. Okay, this is a big idea. Adam Jonas has asked Tesla whether they will license their skateboard on the Tesla call and on the Fiat call. And both of them basically said yes. What does that mean? Tesla builds way better batteries and powertrains than any other automaker in the world. Those companies want to buy that technology so they can accelerate their electric vehicle developments. It's a no-brainer. Tesla will get paid, make a ton of money for all that tech they developed. These other car companies have a fighting chance, have just a prayer of staying relevant if they do this. I think it's a question of who's going to jump the gun and do this deal first. Fiat seems like they are the one. They have a huge deal with Tesla to buy a bunch of their regulatory credits to offset the fact they're not building EVs. So clearly there's a massive financial friction and incentive for Fiat to get their EV program off the ground rapidly. I think if Tesla will license their skateboard, it will be first to Fiat. Actually, the more and more I've been thinking about this. So it could be any of these big auto companies, but I think there's a very interesting moves to watch with Fiat and Tesla going on the last conference calls. And so, yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to get to these chats. Thank you for the super chat. Vinod, do you think Germany will be able to build a Gigafactory in 1 year? Germany, I love you guys, but are you going to be able to build it as fast as China? My bet would be probably not. But I do think the Gigafactory 3 or Gigafactory 4 already had a bunch of permits. That land was already zoned for an auto factory, according to my understanding. So I think there is huge potential for that to go very quickly for European factory standards. But I think China, frankly, is just better at building infrastructure. But 2021 production timeline for Tesla, they're much better at building factories than they've ever been. So I think that, mid 2020 to late 2020 is when we can expect Gigafactory 4 to start production. And that's what the bull story is here. I mean, we have China coming online, slowly ramping for the next year, then 2020. We have a slowly ramp of Gigafactory 4 in Berlin. And also in that time, we have a Gigafactory 1 Reno ramping with the semi-truck and the Cybertruck, or those are my estimates of where those would be built. Tesla's all about capacity. It's all about how many cars they build. I mean, this is a company that literally just sells out of its product the second they build it. And so I think thank you for the super chat, Kurtstoff. But so if you think about it, they're all supply constrained. It's all about supply and capacity. If you look about the capacity expansion for the next 24 months, it's almost consistently Tesla's gonna have more and more capacity. I think that almost locks in the revenue growth and is what it's super exciting here. All right, I'm trying to get more to your super chats here. Looking forward to the VTOL jet chat. Do I think JB will be working on that? You're gonna have to tune into the VTOL jet chat, I think. Sorry, I'm trying to get to all you guys. Thoughts on Elon's at Astra School to revolutionize education? I don't know. I know Elon Musk. I think he homeschools his kids. Is that possible? And has created some sort of new type of school. I don't know much about that. I think Elon Musk is going to disrupt whatever industry he tries to. He's probably too busy to do education for now, though. You said you don't try to predict short-term share price, but if you're in my shoes and I have 50K to add to existing positions, what do I do? Rogue Node. Thank you for the super chat, but I never give financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I have no idea what you should do. So I'm sorry. I can't help you out there. I wish I could, but I don't. And that's sort of my philosophy of hyperchange is me just talking about my thoughts on investing, my ideas. I never want you to do what I do. My whole point of hyperchange is like you need to find what you're passionate in, what you're interested in, create your own investment philosophy around that from scratch. Go 0 to 1, you're never going to be great like Warren Buffett, just investing like Warren Buffett. Like I think the next Warren Buffett will develop their entire own investing philosophy framework that's totally different than, what he did in the past. Like value, I don't know. I don't know if this is a good, valuable answer, but I just think you need to do you and only listen to yourself when it comes to investing. That's the only way you'll learn. That's the only way you'll be great. So that's my advice. But I wish I could give you a better answer there. But I'm personally holding on to Tesla, and I don't know. I guess I'm almost like, I feel like the Tesla thesis, in my opinion, has almost been so validated recently. Like, it's pretty crazy. Like, I was just with Rob Maurer of Tesla Daily, Matt Joyce, Julie, and some of my Tesla friends over the weekend. And like, is just so in the bag. Like there was so many risks and so many things that could have gone wrong in the past, but Tesla, the way they're actually making money here, the way Wall Street's getting it, the way the stock price is taking care of itself, the way the product is actually as good as we all hoped it would be, the way it's making everybody so happy and excited. I mean, and the way Tesla's technology advantage is so far ahead. I mean, it seems like the future has already been written and it's all about Tesla just scaling production, and that will lead to them rapidly scaling cash flow and earnings, and it's almost in the bag. So I've never been more excited and optimistic about Tesla's success and just their chance of success and chance to change the world. And if anything, I'm even more and more convinced that this, the revolution that's happening of how humans produce and consume energy is something that's so big and so fundamental and is going to expand the energy industry. Like we're always, you're always talking about, oh, it's going to replace the internal combustion engine. Yes, it will replace it and be even bigger than it because it'll be a better technology. So I think electric batteries and drivetrains will be an even bigger business than the internal combustion engine in the long run. I think humanity's consumption of energy only increases, and therefore the demand for sustainable and cheap, affordable, awesome energy solutions only continues to grow. And I think these are industries that Tesla's leading in that, frankly, they've made huge, extremely risky capital expenditure investments and just bets on crazy, radical new technology innovations that, frankly, no one else made. And they made, like, the Gigafactory. They built a totally new way to assemble batteries, to control it with software that everyone thought was impossible, and they've actually executed it. And I think all this, the biggest thing that I've realized with Tesla, and a sort of learning takeaway I've had over the past couple months or years, has been every single time Wall Street and everybody thought Tesla was failing was actually when they were learning and improving, and all those micro failures have led to learnings and improvements that have now been their biggest competitive advantage. And Tesla's willingness to fail, their willingness to mess up, has turned out to be the thing that has like caused them to win. And so I don't know, I think that's so, it's like even when autopilot, like every time you disengage autopilot, you're telling it what went wrong, and Tesla's learning from it and getting better. And I just think this is like this learn, fail, move mentality that just no one else had. Anyway, so I'm more pumped about Tesla than ever. And I just think like passenger cars to me is a given. And I think we're a couple $100 billion company if we changed passenger cars, but if we changed trucks, which I think is Cybertruck and the semi-truck, I think that is 100, 200 billion too. Logistics, Tesla Freight, autonomous freight network. The vertical takeoff and landing electric jet and plane in 5 to 7 years. I think that's another couple $100 billion market. What they're doing with energy. So I don't know. My point is I'm definitely not selling my Tesla stock anytime soon. When do I think Battery Investor Day will be held? Well, this is where they're going to tell us all the secrets about this. Battery Investor Day, like so excited. I don't know when it's going to be. They said February or March 2020. So they're going to announce it at the last minute. So we'll see how that goes. What are your thoughts of the battery price decline and how close are they to making commercial airplanes possible? Dude, Andreas, thank you so much for the super chat. I have an entire podcast with Maddie Bogle coming out in like a day or two that will talk about when the electric jet's coming out, when battery technology will be ready to create an electric plane, all of that. Somebody keeps asking about thoughts on AV 4.0. I don't know what that means. Okay. Do I think there will be any negative quarters that hurt the stock price? Yes. And I think that's important to remember in like this Jeff Bezos quote of don't get too excited when the stock goes up. Don't get too bummed when the stock goes down is super important. Like you don't want to rest your excitement about whether the stock's up or down. Honestly, like I'm pumped the stock's up, but you can't get too excited about it. It could go down 20% tomorrow because I don't know. You just got to be ready for that. So, I think Q1 could be a difficult quarter, and Elon Musk did hint in the conference call that Q1 and Q2 could be a little different and tricky a little bit. But I think the comparables, Q1 2019 was so bad that I just think there's huge upside for them to just improve, and the year-over-year comp's going to be strong. And I think everybody freaking out about a bad quarter coming is sort of like what's been happening for the past decade in the market. Because we had 2008, everybody's like scarred and is freaking out like, oh my God, that bad quarter is going to come, or like Tesla's going to crash, like everything's going to go wrong in that one moment. Like you're like panicking, which I think is almost a good thing because you're more risk averse. But I don't think Q1's going to be as bad as people think. And I think the truth of what's happened is Tesla's core business is just structurally different than it was 2 years ago. They're just making money now. They're building way more cars. Their future's way more secured. And that's really driving up the stock price. And I don't think that's going to change with a seasonally weak Q1. That doesn't change long-term story. And I think the market will know that. Thank you, Nwood, 1967 for the super chat. Jamie Harvey, do you think Elon has finally figured out how to strategically announce release items to keep the market stride going past 100 bill? I have no idea about whether he's doing strategic. I don't know. What? Sorry. I think he has figured out how to strategically release items and manage expectations in a super good way, but I don't know about what he's going to do to get it past 100 mil. I think Elon's probably like, why? Like, he probably gave up on trying to, the stock price. Like, he was probably like, why wasn't the stock price going up all of a year ago when we were crushing it? And then he probably gave up and was like, the market's never going to get it. And of course, the second you give up, the market gets it. So, sorry. What do I think of Rivian? I think. Thank you for the super chat. I think Rivian, I don't know, I was talking to my friends about this. I think I really want Rivian to do well, but I just kind of think they're screwed. Like, their pickup design looks outdated. They're letting Amazon invest way too much money, which means Amazon's going to dictate all their product decisions. I just think they have too many huge investors that want different things with that battery technology before any of it's been built. The valuation's too high. I think it's going to be, I don't know. I want Rivian to succeed, but I just don't view them as a threat. I think it's dubious that they may, like, I don't even know if they'll succeed. Do I see a stock split in Tesla's future? Who knows? I don't have a strong opinion. I think they should, but they don't seem to care or want to. Any more questions? I can try and think about something random to talk about. Do I think the share price is split? Everyone keeps asking that. No, I don't think it matters. I think a lot of brokerages are coming out with features to make it easy to buy small fractions of shares. So how about those call options? Oh, Rahul from Tesloop. What's up? Yeah, I know he's doing well on the stock. Is this a short squeeze? So a lot of people are wondering if this is a short squeeze. I personally don't think it's a short squeeze. A short squeeze implies irrational buying because you're forced to cover. It's sort of this panic scenario. I think shorts are contributing to the stock rise, are adding a little bit more and more, but I don't think that is the main driver of the stock. Another huge thing happened. I'm glad someone just mentioned the convertible. So Tesla raised a bunch of money or had a bunch of debt that was convertible. So this is an interesting way that like starting to succeed is like pushed every domino in Tesla's favor. So instead of needing a few billion in debt and paying that back in cash, if the stock price is above a certain threshold, people will convert it to the stock because the stock's above that threshold. All these debt holders will opt to obviously buy the stock instead. So instead of having to pay back all this debt, Tesla just basically does minor dilution. So basically just did a de facto equity raise to get rid of a bunch of debt. So Tesla's leverage is decreasing rapidly as their share price continues to climb, once again pushing that entire financial thesis into the bull camp. So that's a really good, exciting thing. Reading your questions, waiting for something. So anyway, to wrap it up, I think Tesla has reached a significant turning point. This Oppenheimer note that I was reading at the beginning of the live stream signifies that Wall Street is starting to catch up and understand the bull thesis, but still has a very long way to go. I mean, 25 billion in revenue next year, that's a joke. I mean, I think we're looking at huge re-rating upwards, and the price target's already above 600. So I think this is Oppenheimer and Wall Street slowly understanding the story is just a sneak preview of what could occur all of 2020, which has me really, really excited. The S&P 500 inclusion means hundreds of millions to potentially billions of forced buying of Tesla stock, huge tailwind for years to come. But so with all that said and all that excitement, I also don't want to get people too hyped because you never want to be super excited. Like Tesla's still, we're still there's still a little bit ways to go, and the stock price could go down tomorrow. So you never know. So you never want to get too hyped about it. But do I think Arcimoto will survive? But a couple of people asking about that. I think Arcimoto's, they just raised a bunch of money. I love the product. We'll see what they report in the next couple of quarters, but big fan of Arcimoto. I hope they survive. I mean, I really want an FUV. So is this a bubble? I don't think this is worth a bubble at all. I mean, I think Tesla, even at 90 billion, let's just talk about the valuation and the video a little bit. So even at 90 billion here, 95 billion, I mean, Tesla's at about a 30 billion run rate. So we're looking at about 3.5 times price sales, which seems like a lot for a car company, but for a computer company, I think 3.5 times sales for something that could grow at 50% a year for a few years would be a significant upside, and it's a pretty reasonable valuation. So, Apple makes what, 35, 40% gross margins on its products, 35%. Tesla is going to be the mid 20% range once they normalize Model 3. I think you add in some software FSD. Tesla's margins are not much further away than Apple's. Apple's something that could trade around 2 to 3 earnings at maturity, or 2 to 3 times price sales at maturity. I think Tesla trading at 4 to 5 times sales, even at this stage in the growth rate, wouldn't be crazy, which would justify 650, 700 a share today. So I think there's a lot of different ways to look at the valuation of Tesla. Another one is the cash flow profile. I mean, the operating business is pumping out $2 billion in cash flow this year. Times 90, that's a 45 times cash flow multiple, which seems high, but the cash flow is growing quickly. Remember, interest rates are negative. They're at like 2% for the 10-year, 45 over 1. We're looking at like what, 2.5% yield on free cash flow for Tesla's equity today, already higher than the 10-year yield. So I don't know. I think there's, yeah, and I think cash flow next year could go up to 4 to 5 billion operating cash flow less capex. You do that multiple. I mean, Amazon has traded around what, 20 times cash flow for years. That was dictating their stock price rise. So I think 25 times 2020 cash flow is a very reasonable valuation, especially when you factor in the growth of this company. And then you have the optionality of the robo-taxi business. I mean, I think nobody's really factored in what the impact will be of autonomous vehicles and just the business, the magnitude of that disruption for life as we know it. I mean, Uber is already like insane. I can go to any city in the US and just like have a button, have a car waiting, and it's just all seamless. Like that was so much hard to do. There was so much, like, I don't even know if I could have done hyperchange without Uber. I'm going to all these random cities, to all these random companies, and like, how would I have gotten there? Called the taxi, like so much friction. So I think that's just like a 0.1% preview of the disruption of what Tesla's about to announce or about to do with the robo-taxi business. And, it's, I don't know. I think it's scary how big of a cash cow and money printer it could be if they actually have an autonomous robo-taxi. That would totally change the game. So I'm investing on Tesla. I think the upside is very justified on a vehicle business alone, that 3 times price sales, that cash flow number I just talked about. But if we factor in this totally new, other weird, crazy business model, I think that would be super, super epic. Trying to think if I should talk about this. The other big thing that's going to happen in 2020 that I think we all get, if we've been watching Hyperchange, you probably understand, but that I think no Wall Street isn't going to get, and they're going to have a lot of notes about, and just the world is going to kind of freak out about when it gets announced, is Tesla's million-mile battery, the investor battery day. Like, I just think nobody understands that. They bought Maxwell Technologies. They're going to implement this dry battery electrode breakthrough. I mean, Tesla, if you've heard their phrasing around how they research different battery technologies and how they decide when a breakthrough's occurred and whether to purchase that technology. I mean, Maxwell Technology, let's read the breadcrumbs. I'm getting a little sidetracked here, but trust me, this is going to get good. The breadcrumbs here is Maxwell Technology is this crazy little supercapacitor company based in San Diego. They figure out a way, in the way they're making their supercapacitors, so like, wait, we can figure out how to make dry electrode batteries, dry battery electrodes. This is a huge market because batteries are a way bigger market than ultracapacitors, and we just stumbled in this way to produce them with a way more efficient method. Sorry, I'm gonna take a sip. The point is that you need to know a dry battery electrode. Tesla, every other car company has wet electrodes, but the dry electrode doesn't need this massive drying oven. And so it's a much simpler product. You don't need this massive drying oven, way less space, way less time, way simpler to build a battery. What does that mean? Cost. It's all about the cost of the battery. With the Tesla, it was like 100 G's for the Roadster, 50 G's for the Model S, 7 or 8 G's now to replace a Tesla battery, or $8,000. That could get even cheaper with Maxwell. So Tesla's about to have a way to make batteries even cheaper and potentially even better, and they're going to last longer, a million-mile battery, which changes the whole economics of what it would be to purchase a car. So my point is here, Tesla's the best battery technology in the industry, and that is their crappy technology. Like, that's a crappy way to build batteries, it's a crappy way to make batteries, it's crappy performance of batteries compared to what they have already in the bag. So when you're hearing people like Sandy Munro, who are the foremost auto industry consultants, talk about how Tesla has a 5-year lead in batteries, they are looking in the rearview mirror. They don't even know the disruption that's coming, and they're talking about Tesla having a 5-year lead. So it's hard to really process that. But my point here is, and I don't know what Tesla's going to announce. I'm just speculating, but I'm very confident Elon Musk and Tesla would not have a battery investor day if they did not have a game-changing strategy to announce. And they're going to announce a roadmap to a terawatt of energy production. That is about, 30x of where they are today. So Tesla out here is a $25 billion company, mainly with their batteries as their biggest supply constraint input into their sales of products. If they do a 30x increase on that unit, I mean, we're looking at a 30 times increase in revenue. I mean, that could be $1 trillion in revenue right there. So Tesla could unveil the roadmap to produce enough batteries to hit $1 trillion in revenue at this battery investor day. I mean, this is game changing. I just don't think, it. I don't give a. I'm not a car investor. I'm not an electric vehicle investor. I'm like a technology investor. Like that's what gets me excited. That's why I love investing and like learning about these companies. It's about how do we take disruptive innovation technologies from breakthrough inventors and commercialize them. That's where value gets created. That's how industries change. That's how the world changes. And that is what Tesla's about to do. They're taking this tiny little science project that Maxwell Technology was working on for years. If you go read the conference calls of this company, they're talking about how this is the most game-changing technology in the electric vehicle industry. They partnered with this top secret auto company they can't talk about. It's going to totally transform their business. It's a tier one global company. They're not allowed to talk about what they're doing with them or anything. Tesla buys them. To me, it seems pretty clear Tesla was working with this on Maxwell for years, scaled it, perfected it, figured out that this technology was not vaporware, it could work. They bought them, and they bought them to start building a ton of those batteries. And so there's a paper put out by Shirley Mang, who's a researcher, or not Shirley Mang, she's one of the researchers who's been working on this with Maxwell, but I think she wasn't on the original dry battery electrode paper. But anyway, I'll put a link to that in the comments after I get off live stream. The dry battery electrode paper, I think is worth reading for everybody because that's like the best clue we have about what Tesla will announce at their battery investor day. Anyway, so I guess my point is to wrap it up here. I think Tesla's an amazing company. The market's starting to understand the story that we see today. But the story that we're about to see tomorrow in 2020 with the battery investor day is like, it's going to be a totally new story that is going to, yeah. So anyway, could Maxwell battery tech go into the Model Y first? I don't know. I don't know. All right, I'm reading any more questions. I feel like I'm sort of tired here and I've been rattled. Oh, 2 terawatt hours of energy production. Okay, 60x increase. Let's go for it. Robotaxi can take us to $1 billion sooner. Yes, Model Y is hardware 3.0. All right. Any interviews at CNBC? No. CNBC doesn't want me, unfortunately. It's only they only want people on if Tesla stock's going down. It's not that. Anyway, Cybertruck on a play as a fully self-driving future. Yes, I think that's going to be huge. Battery tech for the Semi. I think that's probably Maxwell. Yeah. Oh, thanks for being you. Thank you, the person super chat. Fair value of Hyperchange or of Tesla stock right now, I think is around 500. I don't know. I'm kind of guessing, but my point is I'm holding, not thinking about selling a single share. All right, this will be the last question. How do you think an autonomous fleet rolled out at the scale would affect existing public transport in cities? Like if taking a bus or a Tesla ends up being similar to price per mile, pros, cons. I don't know. I think it's really hard to fathom what's going to happen. I hope traffic decreases. I hope we figure out a way to make our roads and use of space in urban environments way more efficient with the advent of robo-taxis and self-driving cars. I mean, I think I live in New York and I walk everywhere, which is amazing. It's a super sustainable method of transport, and that New York City is beautiful because it's not just one big concrete road, although it is kind of just one big pile of concrete. But go to Los Angeles. I mean, so many cities in America and like the Midwest and just everywhere, like I think they look really, really ugly because they're all designed around roads and roads being the main transportation system. And then we're all driving around these big boxes polluting. And we're just this tiny little person in this big box on this road that's just clogged up with traffic. Hours of our time are sucked away just in traffic. It makes our cities hideous. So I don't know. The more and more I've thought about like if you could just start from scratch designing a new city, I think you wouldn't have done it with cars. You wouldn't have done it with the same form factor. And so I think autonomous cars are sort of an opportunity for us to rethink how our cities are laid out and what the potential is for how we get around cities and just a much more radically efficient use of space of the roads we need to have. And that's what gets me so exciting and why I think this is, the business opportunity is one thing, but I think the change that this will have in society is even more to comprehend. And when I was in California, I've been getting so impressed. People are sleeping on the fact that of how good Tesla's autonomous vehicle technology is. We were driving for 40 minutes, across LA freeways, changing lanes, in traffic. The car was doing navigate on autopilot by itself, no interventions. I mean, this is incredible. The technology is getting there. And so I think robo-taxis are going to represent a huge business opportunity. That's my long-winded way of saying that. But I also think that will not impact the financial statements for like at least 2 to 3 years. Boring Company. I do think there is an inevitable partnership with the Boring Company and Tesla to solve traffic as well. And they're going to, I don't know, the Boring Company seems like they've been kind of quiet, but I think Tesla and the Boring Company, lots of opportunity there. Seems like there's definitely an opportunity for tunnels on Mars. Elon always wants, technologies on Mars. So anyway, I'm getting tired. I feel like I'm not making that much sense. But the point is, I'm super pumped about Tesla stock. Huge, congratulations to everyone holding 525. Oh, did I miss some super chats? Sorry. But anyway, 525 a share. I mean, this is unbelievable. So excited. So excited to see Wall Street slowly catching on to the story. Super exciting. Anyway, really appreciate you all tuning in. Huge shout out to the Patreon supporters funding the channel. You guys allowed me get this awesome new mic for the live streams. And anyway, I just appreciate you all tuning in, all the super chats. Hope you guys have an awesome night and celebrate your Tesla gains. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.